Welcome inside the Cards Court. A big good afternoon and welcome here into the Betsy M. Ross studios here inside Ball State Sports Link. Griffin Leonard joined as always by Sam Niger. Sam, how are you doing as we move into a new week?
I'm great, Griff. We're into February now, and with that, basketball starts to heat up. The March is always towards the month of March, so we're getting much closer now, and these two teams are kind of shaking out in the rest of the Mid-American Conference. Lots to discuss.
I'll agree. It really seems like we're getting close to the home stretch here. I mean, every game starts to feel a little just more notable. It feels like it means a little bit more. And it's getting to be that time.
It is, Griff. I'm excited to break down what we've got this week.
Well, let's go ahead and break down our schedule from this last week. Both teams were in action on Saturday as the calendar turned from January to February. The women's basketball team was at home. They beat the Western Michigan Broncos by a score of 61-51, a close 10-point win at home over the Broncos. The men's squad was out in Buffalo, New York. They took a trip to Niagara Falls, and they took a trip into the win column. They beat the Buffalo Bulls 89-76. A big offensive showcase for the Cardinals on the men's side. So both teams win Saturday. We move to the midweek. Men's basketball back at it at Akron at the undefeated Akron Zips.
Yeah.
Really good 40 minutes of basketball showcased by the guys. Couldn't quite pull it out. They lost 81-73, rather, an 8-point loss after being with them for, I'd say, 36 of the 40 minutes, if not the whole way. And then for the women's side, game last night against the Bowling Green Falcons, that was a SportsLink ESPN Plus broadcast, and the Cardinals prevailed 71-51, a 20-point win for the Cards. Let's start on the women's side. Sam, general thoughts after yet another 2-0 week?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Griff. It's another 2-0 week. It seemed to be business as usual. We thought Western Michigan might give Ball State a run for their money. That's a team that's tripped up some of the best programs in the MAC this year. They held Toledo to just 38 points, and while they shut Ball State a little bit down offensively, Ball State was still able to take care of their business in the second half. They did end up losing the fourth quarter, but only by 1 point. Still, I think Ball State has to be pretty happy with a double-digit victory against a top-5 opponent in the MAC. They're going to have to be a little wary when they go on the road at Kalamazoo later in the year against Western Michigan to play them for the second time. That's when Ball State seems to trip up on the women's side, is when they play a team the second time after they've already beaten them. So they're looking to avoid that, but all in all, Brady Sally thought there were a couple of defensive breakdowns in that game that could be mended the next time they play. So I even expect a better performance from the Cardinals next time they play the Broncos. And then against Bowling Green last night, I mean, you're playing against one of the teams that has historically had your number a little bit, and you beat them by 20 points on your home floor. You hold a team to 51 points for the second consecutive game. Yes, both of these games were home, but Ball State has got to be thrilled with how they played after these two matches this week.
Now, obviously, so many positives, so many good things that we're seeing from this Cardinal team, but I was kind of trying to look and see if I could just pick and find something that needs to get better, right? And you look at the second half, so you sort of mentioned it there with the fourth quarter of the game on Saturday. Both of these last two games, the Cardinals have jumped out to an early lead, and they've still been able to outplay their opponents in the second half, but it hasn't been as much necessarily lopsided in that sense. Do you think that that's something the Cardinals can try to, I guess, kind of work on, try to play those full 40 minutes of their A game?
Yeah, that's always a point of emphasis, Griff, especially when it comes to closing games out. That was not necessarily a problem last season. Ball State didn't lose a ton of close games. I think specifically back to the MAC semis against Kent State. Ball State was really behind for the whole second half. They were playing from behind. They didn't really lose their lead, and then things just started to get sloppy. I do think that this team, with the seniority they've got between the core four and Allie Becky especially, the clutch gene is just going to come into play in the fourth quarter. Could things get a little closer? Sure. But I think Ball State's ability to not only win games, but win them big, plays into their ability to play a full 40 minutes of basketball. You could argue, yeah, they lost the third quarter against Bowling Green. They lost the fourth quarter by 1 point against Western. But all things considered, I wouldn't necessarily say they haven't played a full 40 minutes of basketball quite yet, although there's definitely some things to clean up on.
And then let's move to the men's side here. This was a must-win week for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
We talked last week and the weeks prior, just the two of us, just it was frustrating last week for the Cards to drop both of those games against two of the teams in the standings toward the bottom of the Mid-American Conference.
Yep.
You felt like this was a must-win against Buffalo. They got it done on the road against the Bulls, and they looked really, really good offensively. They kept a lot of that going into Akron. Of course, it's a mighty ask when you're 15-point underdogs against a team that hasn't lost in conference play.
Yeah.
But I thought that this was one of the best weeks in conference play for these Ball State Cardinals this season.
And it's one of the toughest road trips with which to play well on. I mean, you've got a 5-day stretch where you are completely away from home. Yeah, they take a little side trip to Niagara Falls, try and take the mind off of it. But that Buffalo-Akron tandem up there in the northeastern part of the conference, it's one of the tougher road trips that any MAC team will go on. So to walk away with not only a 1-1 record, but also your one loss is against the best team in the conference where Vegas didn't really give you a chance anyways. And like you said, Griff, hanging with the Zips for all but 4 minutes of that game, Ball State has got to be pretty happy with where they're playing, and now they're kind of through some of the brunt of their schedule. They've got the MAC Sun Belt Challenge coming up, and then they get to reset, and they have a chance to beat some Eastern Michigans and Northern Illinois teams that are going to be winnable games. So I'm pleased with how Ball State performed this week, and I think there's still room for improvement as they have held on to that Mid-American Conference tournament spot, at least for the moment.
Absolutely. Well, we will take a break. I kind of buried the lead. When we get back, we'll talk with Jeremiah Hernandez from the men's basketball team. So we'll take a break and come back here. This is the Cards Court presented by Victory Honda of Muncie on the SportsLink Radio Network.
Victory Honda of Muncie. We're not just another car dealership, and here's why. We stand behind every car we sell and are dedicated to helping our customers save time and money. All our pre-owned cars undergo a rigorous 182-point inspection and come with a 90-day warranty to ensure that you're getting a Victory quality vehicle. Plus, you'll get 2 years of complimentary oil changes and tire rotations. We're part of a top 15 dealership group and have an enormous selection of vehicles with access to inventory at over 45 locations. You always get more for your trade and the best possible rates with us. We have an excellent relationship with hundreds of lenders. Our exclusive Car Doc maintenance and membership program will help you save hundreds of dollars in the process of maintaining your vehicle. Lastly, our state-of-the-art body shop and certified technicians perform high-quality repairs and paint work on most vehicle makes and models. Victory Honda of Muncie. We're not just another car dealership.
Welcome back here to the Cards Court presented by Victory Honda of Muncie. Our guest this week is a native of Chicago, played a few seasons over at the University of Southern Indiana, and now joins us and joins the Ball State Cardinals for the 2024-25 campaign. Please welcome Jeremiah Hernandez to the show. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jerry, you got a pretty fun year so far in the Cardinal and White. How has it been settling into the season so far?
Yeah, I mean, I knew in the summer the group of guys we had that it wasn't going to be bad, like gelling and being together off the court. So we had a slow start, but I think as conference picked up and we started gelling more, things have been going a little better for us. In a little rut right now, but I think with the experience we have, and with the kind of dudes we have, it'll be easy to get out of it.
Heading into this season, it was your second time transferring. Started at Kent State, went to USI. Now you're at Ball State. Was that second time transferring a little smoother than it was the first? In what way?
Yeah, I mean, going out the first time, stats were obviously a little different and, was younger. So, going into the portal, there was still, a good amount of people that reached out just based off what I did in high school. But, obviously where people saw me fit, was lower D1, like high D2 level. So, I thought I can make an impact, anywhere, and that's why I decided to hop in the portal. So, Southern Indiana, they made the call, and they did what they were supposed to do, and they blessed me with an opportunity. They were going D1, so it felt like a great opportunity to go start something there, and obviously had 2 good years, and going back in the portal, Ball State, one of the first teams to reach out, and some other teams in the MAC and other teams in like Sun Belt, stuff like that. So yeah, it was a lot smoother.
Well, what is it about Kent State, about Ball State, about the Mid-American Conference as a whole that kind of drew you in to begin with and then and maybe called you back a little later in your career?
Yeah, I mean, originally, Kent State recruits the Chicago area pretty heavy, and I knew some guys, Antonio Blueman Williams and some other guys who were there that, helped recruit me. And, since they knew me, knew my AAU coaches, we played for the same program. So, it was smooth transition, talking from him, talking to coach, stuff like that. So, playing in the MAC again is a great guard conference, and, they always get some good, talent and upsets. And, I just think it's a really good conference. So, when I came here originally, I learned a lot, and, learned how to play defense. The MAC, definitely that's something you got to do because, dynamic guards all over. And, so that was, Kent's main thing was, preaching that kind of stuff. So transferring to Southern Indiana, that's when I got, my offensive game going. And so coming back to Ball State, I think I could, be one of those dynamic guards in the MAC. And, obviously we played Kent this year, and, it was something I was looking forward to. Had a great time. And, just stuff like that. I know a lot of people from when I played in the MAC originally. And, just felt right coming back.
And now that you mentioned the team was in a little bit of a rut, you went on that long road trip to Buffalo and Akron. I know you would have much rather come home with a 2-0 record, come home 1-1, but it seemed like this week was a lift from weeks past. What was the difference on this road trip compared to the previous week of competition?
Yeah, I think when you're on the road, you prepare a little bit differently, and I think that was maybe something we needed was to just get out and get to Buffalo and prepare at their place, and just be away from Muncie for a little bit. And we had a lot of conversations on the road when we were together. We had meetings and film and all that stuff, so we got a lot of chance to talk about what we needed to do. And we came out with the Buffalo game and did what we were supposed to do. And we competed with Akron. Just they have that experience, and they've been playing at a really high level for a long time. So towards the end, just they made good plays. But I just think dropping one to NIU was probably, and Western were probably some of the things we could look back on. And that's what we were talking about on the road trip, and something that we wanted to fix and never let that happen again.
What has come to the fact that just having the ability that this team has had to stay in tough games on the road. You guys beat Kent State, you beat Central, you hung in there with the likes of Akron, the likes of Ohio, but that magic hasn't necessarily always come to fruition at home. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I'm not sure what our deal with is playing at home. I think we might put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform well at home compared to, away. We, going in with the mindset that, really got nothing to lose, and we're walking into someone else's house and we're just trying to take what's theirs. Sometimes when you're on the defense about stuff, you're not as aggressive. And so I think maybe when we're at home, we just got to do a better job of, just recognizing that we got to play the same way no matter what. And, we still got to be the aggressors and just make sure that we start games well and obviously ultimately finish them. Because we've had, like you said, some tough ones and some close ones that at the end have just, haven't gone in our favor. But, again, that's something we just have been talking about and just stressing.
Jerry, when you are on the road, who do you typically room with?
So I started out the year with Ben Hendricks, and then I think after the Florida trip, we switched it up, and now I'm with Mickey. So,
are you enjoying it? How's rooming with Mickey? I know he's been around for so long.
Yeah, no, I learned a lot from Mickey, and he's telling me a bunch of stories about his past years at Ball State and all the different teammates he's had, and same with Ben when I was his roommate. Yeah, I mean, Mickey just plays a lot more video games. So.
Do you feel like the chemistry is starting to come together on this team?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we started off conference season with, that Kent win, and, we picked up some good wins through there. We lost to the top teams in the league, Miami and Toledo at the time. So, I think those weren't bad losses. Those were, something we wish we could have got, but, we beat the teams we were supposed to. Like I said, we dropped those two against, NIU and Western. I think we were supposed to get them. And, going against Buffalo, that was another team we should have beat. We got them. So, just being consistent in that and, competing against those top teams in the league and trying to give ourselves a chance to win at the end. So I think, us just discussing that and, putting it together has really helped us.
When talking about that road trip last week, when you were at Buffalo, something you guys got to do outside of the actual game was you went to Niagara Falls as a team. I mean, I haven't been. Had you been when you were with Kent? What was that experience like?
No, we didn't go to Niagara Falls. That was my first time there. And, it was obviously winter, so, a lot of snow. But, I could tell just why people, go there. It's just like a big space to, nature and everything like that. And obviously the guys were joking around and, just being around all the coaches too. And everyone who was on the trip, just having that time to be together for a little bit was just a good job by Coach Lewis to trying to get, just get that in.
5 of your next 6 games are at home, back in Worthen Arena. What has been Coach Lewis's message to your squad as a whole, knowing that you do have this big home stretch coming up?
Yeah, I mean, just got to defend home court, and, we have a lot of fans who have helped us and, been loyal, even though we haven't been giving them what they want at home. We still have people showing up for us, and we just play for them and, play for each other and, just coming out, like I said, starting the game as the aggressors as opposed to just being on the defense, knowing we're trying to defend home court. But, again, just making sure while we're doing that and while we're, at home, just still play that same way of going at teams and, just trying to have fun with it and be a little less, stressed out. Yeah.
Yeah, you were all OVC first team last season, so fans that maybe hadn't watched Southern Indiana but had heard of you probably had some high expectations for you coming into the program. The team started a little slower. I think everybody on the roster kind of just started a little slower as a byproduct, but you had 6 games in a row in double figures. It seems like there's been like a light switch that's flipped for you, flipped for Ethan and some other guys on the roster. What's that light switch kind of just been? What's been the difference?
So in December, we only played 4 games, and, so that means the other days we were in the gym practicing, and, we had a lot of time around each other to, discuss what things we need to take into conference and, those last couple of non-conference games. We were set up with the good, non-conference games to win and, go into conference with, some momentum. So just – like that, those discussions every day in December and, talking with Coach, me and him had a talk and just about where he sees me and where he sees this team going with, if I do what I'm supposed to do. So, that's just something that I wanted to carry, and it gave me a boost of confidence. And, yeah, I mean, those games were, like I said, no stretch. We dropped to the top teams, but we beat who we were supposed to beat. So, I think if we just keep that going, again, it'd be good for us.
Jerry, you've been playing college basketball. You've been around college basketball since 2019. Here you are now in 2025. It's the last ride. What can you still accomplish in your final few months as a college basketball player, and what do you still want to accomplish?
I mean, the whole reason I came here was, for the NCAA tournament, and, Ken was the 8th seed last year and, had a chance to go. So, anything's possible. I'm not saying we're fighting for the 8th seed, but, we get in there, we get a good draw. We're a terrible matchup for everyone. We have experience, we have guards, we have size. So, like I said, we get a good draw and, we finish up how the year with some momentum, how we're supposed to do. I don't see why we couldn't, go to the NCAA tournament still.
Now, talk to me about this. I mean, obviously, a couple months left in your collegiate career. What are you looking for to, I guess, just do next?
Yeah, I mean, continue playing. I'm going to play with Puerto Rico after the season. BSN, that's a nice league to start off my professional career. But, just enjoying the journey of these last couple months and not trying to look too far ahead because, everyone I've talked to is, not jealous, but, wondering how I'm still in college and, still living the life I'm living. And, I'm just blessed with an opportunity. I've got to be in Indiana, so I got to be close to my family, and they've come to a lot of games this year. So, just again, not trying to look too far ahead, but, I'm excited for where I'm going.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about BSN because I saw on Instagram you'd gotten drafted in the 2nd round, and I wasn't familiar with the league, so I was trying to translate it all to English and figure out where's he going. Could you kind of just tell us about that league for those who might not be familiar with the BSN and that opportunity that you have to play?
Yeah, it's Puerto Rico's professional league, and, they start a little early around April, so, in case people have other opportunities to sign to other leagues later on, they give them that chance. So that's something, was really cool about that is I have, I know where I'm going right after the season and able to, make some money playing and, able to get some experience. There's former NBA players that are playing in that league, people who have played in the Olympics for national teams and, a lot of the top coaches in Puerto Rico who, I've known through, coming up through the ranks and them checking in on me and, trying to get me to that league and get me, into the Puerto Rican basketball pipeline. My mom's born in Puerto Rico, so that's, that helped tremendously. And that's, she has family there, so she's excited that we get to go and do this league and everything. But yeah, it's just my first step in my professional career.
Absolutely. And I guess just to kind of elaborate further on that, to have family down there, is that an opportunity then for the family you have up in Chicago to come and see a play and kind of have a family reunion?
Yeah, it's going to be a mix of everybody. My mom has 5 sisters and a brother, so I got a lot of family on that side. And, everybody's been so supportive of me through my life. And, I'm first basketball player through that, family to really, go to that professional level. So, I got a little brother behind me, and, I'm excited for him, and he's watching my journey and everything, and, something that I really want him to see it, and go out to Puerto Rico with the family and everything, and, just, experience that, and hopefully I inspire him and inspire others.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you about just back to Ball State, halfway point in the Mid-American Conference season, something we had talked about a couple weeks in our show. I had said that if this Cardinal team can be around the 6-7 spot at the halfway point with the home stretch that's coming up, if you guys could take advantage of it, there's no reason you couldn't be a top 4 team. Is that kind of around the goals of this squad? Is it higher? Is it what's the general goal of this Ball State team when you look at the last half of conference play?
I mean, like you said, we have a lot of home games in this last stretch that, we have the advantage there, home court advantage. So, again, like I said earlier, we just got to be the aggressors and come out in those games and make sure that we do what we're supposed to do, and we'll have a chance. Like I said, when we played Akron, we, top team in the league, we competed real well. So, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to, like I said, get a good draw at one of those 4, 5, 6 seeds and, play another 4, 5 seed and, hopefully we match up well.
Well, Jerry, thanks for coming on. It's been awesome getting to know you a little bit, and we're going to keep rooting for you the rest of the season.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take a break here on the Cards Court. When we get back, Sam and I will wrap things up this week from the Betsy M. Ross studios inside Ball State Sports Link. This is the Cards Court presented by Victory Honda of Muncie.
For the best stories, access, and coverage of Ball State sports, follow SportsLink on social media platforms Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Search @BSU SportsLink.
Welcome back here to the Cards Court, presented by Victory Honda of Muncie. Just sat down with Jeremiah Hernandez from the Ball State men's basketball team. A big thank you once again to Jeremiah and athletics for making that happen. And we turn back toward the upcoming schedules. I'm back here with Sam. Sam, let's break it down for the week.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting week with the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. That's certainly going to be a point of emphasis, I think, for our discussion, too.
Absolutely. Well, it is the MAC SBC Challenge. Ball State men's basketball will have the home game as they were on the road to start the year. They host Southern Mississippi. Cool little game for athletic director Jeff Mitchell. And then Ball State women's basketball hits the road for a huge road matchup against James Madison, a rematch of last season's Part 2 of the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. Moving to the midweek, just one game. We've talked about the women's basketball team. We said it at the top of the show about another 2-0 week. Unfortunately, it ain't going to happen because they don't play in the midweek this week. They get the midweek bye, but for the Cardinals on the men's side, it's a big game. They host Eastern Michigan, and it goes back to our conversation. I'm sure we'll talk about it in just a moment about trying to win those home games against teams that, at least on paper, they're slated to beat. They couldn't do it against Western Michigan. We'll see if they can do it against the boys in green from Ypsilanti.
Yeah.
So let's start with the MAC SBC Challenge because this is a really interesting challenge tournament, whatever you want to call it, that we've seen it over the last 2 years. Really interesting because it's smack in the middle of conference play. First of all, what I want to know, do you like it? Do you wish it was just another conference game? Because it's an interesting matchup. It's a unique spot on the schedule, but I feel like it can kind of disrupt the flow of things a little bit.
Do I like it? Yes and no. From a fan perspective, I'm just going to turn to the women's game against James Madison. That is a premier mid-major matchup being thrown right in the middle of conference play. A matchup unlike any Ball State is going to see against MAC opponents all year. Think about it this way. On the women's side, before last night, there were only 4 teams above 500. So although Ball State is undefeated on the women's side, these wins aren't meaning as much maybe as they look on paper. Now they have a chance to go against a team that ranks higher than them in the net rankings, also undefeated in conference play. So from a fan perspective, just from a basketball fan perspective, it's a brilliant idea because the best teams are playing the best teams from their respective conferences, and I understand why the league likes it too, because that then leads to more revenue generated because of national TV schedule. I mean, we saw Ball State's game against James Madison picked up last year here in Worthen Arena on CBS Sports Network. From a team perspective, both these coaches hate it. I know they do, and I understand why. You are not preparing to be playing a non-conference game in the middle of February. In the middle of February, we talked about it at the top of our show, you are already pushing for March. You want to make Cleveland and you want to make a run at the NCAA tournament. This is kind of a little bit of a distraction at this point, Griffin. Will it produce good basketball? Will it produce high-quality basketball, competitive basketball? Absolutely. Yes to all those questions. But is it the high-quality competitive basketball that these teams want or need to be playing right now in conference? I think no. So there's a give and take. It's complicated as all issues are. I see why the league does it. I see why the league likes it. And I see why the coaches and players might not be as accepting of it. So, I'll leave my opinions at that. I'll stay lukewarm in the middle, at least for right now.
All right, I respect it. And I'll ask you, because obviously, as you've mentioned, there's positives and there's negatives depending on which perspective you're looking at it from. But what I wanted to ask you from the men's side, a team that's trying to find some consistency, it feels like it could kind of be an opportunity for a light switch to either go on or off. Do you think that it could be a beneficial time for Ball State men's basketball if they could get a win against an out-of-conference opponent, come back into conference play with some momentum?
I do, because this men's team has 5 of its next 6 games at home in Worthen Arena. Michael Lewis has been historically so much better inside the confines of Worthen Arena than he has been on the road coaching this Ball State men's basketball team. Ball State is home until the 18th of February against Toledo, and then they come home for 2 more matchups inside Worthen to end out the month of February. So February is a very Worthen-heavy month for this men's team. So if they're able to get a big win against Southern Miss in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, that could certainly propel this team to the next level when it comes to making a run at conference play.
Absolutely. Let's jump into our bold predictions for the weekend as we look at the Ball State men's and women's teams in this MAC SBC Challenge. Starting with the women's team, I want to hear what you've got, Sam.
I think the women's team is going to get a serious run for their money this weekend against James Madison. This is a really solid Duke squad that ranks in the top 50 of the net rankings. With that in mind, I think Ball State wins a single-digit game against James Madison, which would be their closest since before conference play started. Ball State's closest win on the women's side since conference play started, just 9 points. I think they're going to win this game by either 1, 2, or 3. It's going to be close, but I think they're going to gut it out.
Interesting, and I'll say the Ball State women's basketball team, they've done a really good job defensively in these last couple of games. Both games last week, they held their opponents to 51 points. Just really impressive top to bottom what they can do in transition, trying to get back, whether it's forcing turnovers or just planting their feet and gritting out at hard defensive possession. I think it's a team in James Madison that's going to want to try to match their pace a little bit. It's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out. The Dukes have 4 players that average in double figures. I think in this game on Saturday, there's going to be 3 or less that make that double-figure march. I think Ball State wins the battle defensively. We'll see if they win the game, because if their shooting's off, then it's going to be one of those battles. But I don't think James Madison has their best offensive day, and I have 3 or less players getting over that 10-point mark. Moving on to the men's side.
I think for the men's side, I look at one player specifically for the Cardinals, Wanzi Gorosito, 2 straight games with no points. He's typically just a stunning 3-point shooter from beyond the arc. I think against Southern Miss, he changes that. I look for 3+ made 3-point field goals from Wanzi Gorosito. I think his addition to the lineup and his addition to the stat sheet could be the difference in allowing Ball State to win that second MAC Sun Belt Challenge game, providing the momentum that they need for this big homestand they've got coming up once we do return to MAC play, Griff.
Yeah, the Cardinals had one of their best shooting weeks in the new year last week. They won one of those 2 games. They put up 89 points against the Buffalo Bulls. And if Wanzi Gorosito gets going, then the sky's the limit for this team on the offensive side of the ball. I was looking at Southern Miss. They haven't scored more than 75 points in a game in the last 3 weeks or so. I think they get held under 70, and I think Ball State wins that game by 15 points against the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. I think it'll be a good one, though.
I'm excited for it, Griff. It's going to be interesting to see how these two teams shake out against non-conference opponents this late in the year.
Absolutely. Well, that will do it for our for this week of the Cards Court. We'll be back next week. A big thank you once again to Jeremiah Hernandez for joining us. Sam Niger next to me on my left. I'm Griffin Leonard saying so long from the Betsy M. Ross Studios inside Ball State Sports Link. This has been the Cards Court presented by Victory Honda of Muncie. We'll see you next week.